Hello, church. Happy Monday. It's so good to be back with you this morning or this afternoon or whenever you're watching this. I just want to give a shout out to Ryan for the great job he did yesterday with our Bad Boys of Easter sermon, looking at Thief 1 and Thief 2 on the crosses on either side of Jesus. If you get a chance to catch that, it was great teaching. So this afternoon is part 2 of our Salt and Light on the Sermon on the Mount. We kind of felt like it needed or deserved 2 sections. So let me just share it with you again. It says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You also are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others. That way they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." So you may remember that I said last week that it was unimaginable and actually improbable to the hearers of the Sermon on the Mount that they thought they could be anything. There was no chance that they were ever going to extend themselves beyond the Valley of the Doves. They were never going to leave the Sea of Galilee area in all likelihood. They were where they were. They were in a limited possibility. And yet this rabbi comes and tells them that they could be the salt of the earth. Not just the salt of Galilee, but salt of the earth and light to the world. So part of what I want us to understand about salt and light is salt is an ingredient that's used to preserve meats generally. So when Jesus uses this term, he's very specific. He wants to think about us preserving something. So what is it we preserving? I think for us in the modern church, we certainly at Georgianna are trying to preserve an orthodox Christian understanding of the scriptures. We have core values that are 2,000 years old. We're not reinventing the gospel and how we understand it, right? So we want to preserve that. And I think Jesus comes along and says, be salt of the earth. So we want you to preserve justice, and we want you to preserve mercy, and we want you to preserve unconditional love. That there are aspects of your life that preserve the goodness of God in creation of all the earth, right? To be good stewards of what God has trusted us with. And secondarily, Jesus then calls them to be the light of the world. And he says, no one lights a light and then puts it under a bowl. A light has a purpose, and that light is to shine. That God calls you and I to shine. To shine with what? To shine with his glory. To shine again with his love. To shine with his truth. You see, when you're preserving a core value like Orthodox Christian beliefs, then you want your light to shine with the truth of Scripture. Not some truth, not partial truth, but all truths. Probably the most important part of this passage is right at the very end. Let me read it to you again. It says, "In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." You see, our light is not just for us. And I think the problem with the modern Christian is that we continue to see ourselves first and not last. We see ourselves as being recipients and not depositors of love and God's goodness. So I think we need to understand that our light is given to us for a purpose, to show others how God's love interacts with this world, to shine in this world, to guide others along the path towards Christ. So let me give you an example. I don't know why we do this, but I think we all universally do this. How many of you have ever stubbed your toe in the middle of the night in the dark, right? So in that moment, your first thought is, among other things about how much pain you're in, but your thought is had I turned the light on, I could have seen clearly. But there's something compelling about staying in the darkness that we all have inside our inner spirit in our sin nature. And so part of what Jesus is saying is, listen, turn the light on. Turn the light on so you can see, but more importantly, turn on the light so others can see. This is why us shining our light in the culture we live in is so critical and so important. So church, we're called to be salt, to preserve the ways of God. And we are also called to be light, to shine for others so they can see God. So church, I hope this is helpful to you as you start your week, as you begin to see yourself maybe like those first hearers of the Sermon on the Mount heard themselves. It was unimaginable, improbable that they could actually be salt of the entire earth and light to the entire world. I hope you see yourself that way. I know God sees you that way. Know how much I love you. I love our time together, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great day.